Hey y'all, it has been a very long time since I've done a live here in Instagram, and so I just wanted to come back on and say hi. I know that a lot of you are just now getting the message that I'm on live, and I see a couple of people starting to jump on. Hi Ricky, Lady Lucy, and Ricky, hello. How are y'all doing? So anyway, so I just did my sacral womb healing workshop, and I figured while I've got everything set up and got some makeup on, that I might as well say hi. Hey Jeff, how are you? How do fishes? How do dolphins? So anyway, so while I'm here for a few minutes on my Instagram, I would love to answer any questions that you may have, any questions about sex, relationships, sexual function, how to heal any kind of trauma. I mean, of course, I can't go too in depth because this is deep work, right? But I just did that sacral womb healing workshop, and it was really great. And so I figured while we're here, I might as well say hi to my Insta fam. Yay, 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 yay. You know, I've had so many dolphin and sea turtle synchronicities. The water elementals are definitely big for me right now. I swim nearly every day at the YMCA that's here. They have it's a half Olympic size pool. And so, you know, I get my mermaid life on just about every single day, and I love it. So, Ricky goes right for it. Awesome. He says, what is your favorite thing you like to do with the foreskin? Well, the only foreskin that I play with is my divine masculines. And I like to do whatever he'll let me do with it, frankly. I mean, whatever he'll let me do with it, that's what I want to do. I am a huge fan of oral sex. I love fellatio. I am damn good at it. And let me tell you, foreskin is the best sex toy ever. Now, of course, if you're a dude, you may think of vagina is the best, you know, sex toy ever, or the clit. To each their own. But the foreskin is just so much fun to play with. You know, I love like twisting and gently tugging on it because it stimulates all those nerves. The foreskin is the most innervated part of a man's body, which is why it's so sad. One of the reasons why it's so sad that men have their foreskin taken away from them quite brutally when they're circumcised as babies in this country, a little bit older in other cultures and other countries, because they are purposefully trying to limit a man's sexual pleasure. There is no part of your body, guys, there's no part of your body that has as many fine touch nerve endings as your foreskin. And so even the slightest little bit of tugging, just gentle tugging, can send shockwaves of pleasure through a man's body. So, hey, I see y'all joining in. Who the clit hood is compared with the foreskin. Okay, I don't understand that grammatically, but the thing about the foreskin is that, you know, the female genitals and the male genitals are actually homologous. They are analogous to each other. Of course, they're not the same, and if you don't know that they're not the same, you're probably too young to be watching this, okay? But suffice to say that the clitoral hood provides a similar function of protecting the glans clitoris, which is what that little pink rosebud nub of a woman's body is called, the glans clitoris, because most of the clitoris is up inside the body. The clitoris has 18 distinct parts, and most of them are up inside. So if you think of the little pink bit that you can see, or maybe it's kind of a pink chocolatey brown, or maybe a little purple, it depends, because it, you know, varies woman to woman what the color is. if you think that that's it, no, there's way more up inside. And so the clitoral hood protects the glans clitoris from abrasions from rubbing up against underwear, sheets, towels, clothes in general, and men lose that. That's why a circumcised man's glands and the coronal edge and the sulcus and the neck of the penis to wherever the circumcision scar is, that tends to be very rough, dry, and cracked. That's what we call a keratinized tissue. It's because the glands, the coronal edge, the sulcus, and the neck of the penis, however far down the shaft, that the foreskin was, because every man is different, that is an internal organ. It's designed to be covered and protected by something, and that something is the foreskin. And so, hey y'all, how are you doing? Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you so much. I actually have missed y'all, because we can talk about things here that we can't really talk about, like on Facebook. I'm too tired to do a YouTube live tonight, but I'll get back to doing YouTube. I've been going through a lot of things. This has been a very tough time for me right now. In the past few months, the past 4 months have been very difficult for me. But that's okay. We're gonna make it. So anyway, the clitoral hood protects the glans clitoris, and the inner labia, the labia minora, protects the entrance to the urethra as well as the vaginal opening. So the foreskin on the male protects the glans penis, which is what the head is called, the glans penis, protects that and keeps that nice and juicy and protected, because again, the glans is an internal organ. And then it protects the urethra. Intact men have meatal lips. In the UK, it's so funny, when I first realized this, that men would talk about their piss lips, and I didn't know what they were talking about. It's like, what? But in America, they call it the piss hole, right? I don't like the word pee. Ugh, I can't stand that. But anyway, we'll just say piss for now, right? So it took me, I had to do a little thinking on this. It's like, that's what they mean by piss lips. Is that intact men still have the raised area it looks like lips, it looks like labia around the opening to their urethra, was the meatus, the urethral opening, and their lips that come together, and if they're not urinating, those lips are closed at the top of the urethra. And so the foreskin, keeping the glands protected, allows the meatal lips to still be there. In circumcised men, not only are the lips worn away through repeated abrasions of underwear, sheets, towels, clothes, but then it actually makes the urethral opening smaller, and what we call meatal stenosis. And so it's amazing. Intact men can have a urethral opening that's like half an inch. But cut men have, it might be like the tiniest little hole. And so that difference between piss lips and piss hole was like, wow, that's really incredible that it's that stark of a difference. But yeah, so the foreskin does a lot of different functions, that not just to feel good sexually, but it has a lot of protective functions. And oh, that's a lot. I'll read that in just a second. But it has a lot of different functions. And on the woman, we have the clitoral hood, we have the inner labia that kind of do similar things, to protect, cover and protect. And then from a nerve ending point of view, yes. I mean, that whole area is just innervated to the max with nerve endings, and especially around the clit, the urethral opening, the inner labia, the outer labia. I mean, it's just rich with nerve endings, as is the foreskin. So, okay, hold on. I see more people jumping on. All right, let's see. genitalia is the same in men and female. No, it is not the same. They are similar, they are analogous, and they're all beautiful, but they are not the same. Just like men and women are not equal, we are equivalent. We are of the same value even though we're different, and that's the same for our genitals too. Let's see. Okay. Ricky, I love your questions, but some of these, what would you do if a doctor circumcised your son without your knowledge? Unfortunately, this occasionally does happen, but it's in the most extreme of circumstances. Oh, about knocked that off the table. Sorry. It's the most extreme circumstances that you're not going to know that your child has been circumcised. This would be the case of someone literally kidnapping your child and having that done. So you would have the parent or the caregiver or the grandparent or whoever is doing this is kidnapping the child, and then the doctor or the nurse or the person who's doing the circumcision, they are complicit in this. You know, the whole thing about the human rights aspect of this is that that child is a human being and has human rights, and nobody gets to usurp that for any reason, you know, especially not something that is as unnecessary as circumcision. You know, I mean, you're purposely damaging not only their basic urinary function, but their sexual function and their sexual pleasure. But of course, that's why circumcision is still done. It is to damage the to damage the sexual pleasure. I agree with you. I agree with you, Lux. Yeah, they're not an honorable doctor, that is for sure. But you know, that's what's happened with the recent, I'm sure it was Michigan, the doctors that were doing female circumcisions, which is illegal in the United States. That's been illegal for decades. And in 2013, Obama kind of beefed up that the precedent for made FGM, female genital mutilation, illegal in the United States. And that law that Obama set in place in 2013 said it's illegal to transport a girl outside of the United States in order to have FGM done in another country. So what's happened is that people say, oh, this is our culture. That's great if that's your culture, and it may be your child's culture, but your child still has a right to decide what happens to his body. Not can be psychologically damaging. It is absolutely psychologically damaging. Absolutely. I saw a doctor saying, age, circumcise babies, even if the parents don't want to. Can I send the video? Well, no, don't send it to me right now. Obviously, I can't see it. And I don't want it on my feed because I don't want to seem like I'm promoting something. I want to seem like I'm endorsing it. I don't know what the information is. But what I can say is that that kind of thing is very rare. Like, that's the very desperate parent or the very desperate grandparent. You know, and I've heard some horror stories about, you know, like Jewish grandmas who are like, he will be circumcised. And, you know, their Reformed Jewish daughter or son said, no, he won't. So, no, I don't like direct messages. Thank you so much. So, what I would say is that if we can just respect everybody's right to, you know, to have their own private parts kept private, you know, unless there is actually an issue, and then the circumcisers go into, oh, well, you know, this is to prevent this, that, or the other. It's like, okay, well, why don't we wait until an issue actually presents itself, and then we'll deal with it then, you know. They no longer do radical hysterectomies or radical mastectomies. They've hopefully stopped doing that. They have stopped doing that mostly. Like, why don't you wait to see if you develop breast cancer, regardless of what, you know, oh, I have the gene for that. Bullshit, you know? But anyway, any more questions? Any more questions before we go? I've missed this. I've missed talking with y'all. I've missed talking about foreskin. I'd rather talk about foreskin than talk about circumcision, Because I think that once we talk about circumcision, you've already like gone to the foregone conclusion that circumcision is going to happen or should happen. And I talk about foreskin. I'm a foreskin educator. So let's talk about foreskin, what it is, why all males are born with it, and how the function of the foreskin changes over his life, because parents really need to know that. There was one group that I'm in, this woman, she's like, my 4-year-old son who's intact. She's like, my 4-year-old son, he's like constantly playing with it. Is he hurting himself? It's like, no, he's a boy. He's discovered his penis. You know, they love to do that. And the thing is that males never stop playing with their penis. You know, that they will do that their entire lives, especially if they're intact. Like they just play with their foreskin absent-mindedly, like the way women, you know, we play with our hair. I'm trying to get all of this out of my way. So, oh, and Lux has given me this juicy compliment I appreciate. He says, Trish is a lovely woman and very smart. Thank you so much. And we hope your work is respected by the greater USA population. That is the goal. And so for any of you intact men out there that are seeing this, I am still looking to have more surveys for the book. I want to get up to 300. I need only like 40 or 50 more surveys, and then I'll have all the surveys I need for 300 men from around the world. So far we're up to 32 countries. So it's amazing how similar the experiences are for intact men around the world. So, will you try and reach out to the countries and people who think foreskin is important? I do have one guy from Korea, because I love Korea. I love South Korea. I've been there. I've performed in South Korea. I love it. I would love to go back. Anybody wants to hire me to come sing or compose music for a group or something, let me know. I would love to go back to South Korea. So I do have one guy from Korea. It's very difficult to get it from the Philippines. I mean, I literally don't know anyone from the Philippines who is not circumcised. I mean, they do the circumcisions there when they're like 8 years old, 10 years old, maybe 12 years old, and they do them in huge numbers all at one time. Like, it's a big old ceremony there in the Philippines when they do this. And you see have these little boys, 8 years old, 10 years old, being held down by their arms and their legs by their father, their older brothers, their uncles, as the circumciser comes and does this. I mean, it's horrendous. So I would love to get some from someone who's, you know, Filipino and intact. That's, you talk about a unicorn, that's it. Well, I've got nothing good to say about the Catholic Church. But the one thing I will say is that, yes, they typically, the Catholic Church does not promote circumcision, but it depends. Even then, it depends on where. It depends on the location. Because I have friends who are, say, Puerto Rican and Hispanic Latino in New York. So you would think, you know, the Hispanic population, Latino, Latinx, whatever, they are overwhelmingly Catholic. And when they come directly from Central and South America, they tend to be intact. But if you are Hispanic Latino and you grow up, say, in New York, which has the heavy Jewish influence, they get circumcised up there. In fact, I was very shocked by a guy who, I knew he's Puerto Rican and from New York. We had talked for years over Twitter. And I was like, oh, take the survey for my book. And he's like, I can't. I don't have what I said. He said, I don't have the requirement. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You're Hispanic, right? Puerto Rican. He's like, yeah. He said, but I'm from New York. And he said, and up here, we all get cut. He said, we're called Hebrew-Weekends. I'm like, what? So it's like, holy schnauzers. So anyway, yep. So, all right, well, I'm going to close this out. I thank all of you for joining me. I would love to do more lives here on Instagram. They're always so fun. We always get right to talking about foreskin. And yeah, I love this. All right, I will see y'all later. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye. Let's see if I can turn this off now.